Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We would like to say thank you for coming to our presentation. Before we starting our presentation today, let me introduce myself and my group member. I'm Januari Sinuril Fatina and my group member are Alifah Mutiara Susanto, Farah Nirvana Palupi, Grestia Dianda Monica, Laila Sarisyah Tunjung Putri, Marcelinus Lukas Raka Irawan, and Nisrina Mugis. We are from Group 3. Here, we will present about invertebrate. First, I will begin with what is invertebrate. Invertebrate is any animal without an internal backbone, which includes animals such as insect, crustacean, worm, jellyfish, and sponges. The first invertebrates are believed to have evolved between 650 and 540 million years ago from single-celled organisms similar to certain cells found in sponges. Please look the picture. At the first glance, you make mistake the organism shown in the picture is for a type of seaweed. But this colorful inhabitant of coral reef is actually an animal, not an alga. Specifically, it is a species segmented worm known as a Christmas tree worm. Christmas tree worm are invertebrate animals that lack a backbone. In this chapter, we will take a tour of the invertebrate world using the phylogenetic tree as a guide. The next topic will be presented by Alifah.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Alifah Mutiara Susanto. We'll begin the next presentation about exploring invertebrate diversity. Okay, the first one, we have Porifera, and they have about 5,500 species in this world, and this animal in this film are informally called sponges. Sponges are sessile animals that lack through tissues. And then we have Plecozoa that only have one species in this world, and the single known species in this phylum is Psychoparx adherens. Doesn't even look like an animal. It consists of a simple bilayer of a few thousand cells. Plecozoans are thought to be basal animals, but it is not yet known how they are related to other early diverging animal groups such as Porifera and Cnidaria. And then the other one, we have Cnidaria, and they have about 10,000 species in this world. And Cnidarians include corals, jellies, and hydras. These animals have a diploblastic, radially symmetrical body plan that includes a gastrovascular cavity with a single opening that serves as both mouth and a nose. And then we have Stenophora, and it have about 100 species in its world, and stenophores, or comb jellies, are diploblastic and radially symmetrical like cnidarians, suggesting that both phyla diverged from other animals very early. Comb jellies make up much of the ocean plankton, and they have many distinctive traits, including 8 combs of cilia that propel the animals through the water. And the next topic will be presented by Marcelinus Lucas.
Aquila have more than 400 species. Macule platforms have a simple nervous system and a sac-like gut, and thus were once placed in phylum Platymantis. Molecular analysis, however, indicate that Aquila is a spread lineage that differed before the three main Bladrian clades. Topotropozoa Platymantis, 20,000 species. Flatworms, including tapeworms, planarians, and fluks, have bilateral symmetry and a central nervous system that processes information from sensory structure. They have no body cavity or organ for circulation. Rotifera, 1,900 species. Despite their microscopic size, rotifers have specialized organ systems, including an alimentary canal, a digestive tract with both a mouth and an anus. They feed on microorganisms suspended in water.
Okay,
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First, I would like to thank Lucas for explaining slide 6 and 7. And now I will introduce myself. My name is Nisrina Mukis, and I will be explaining slides 8, 9, and 10. Still on the Lophotrochozoa section, we have Exoprocta and Brachiopoda. Exoprocta includes 4,500 species. Exobrutes, also known as Pyrozoan, live as sessile colonies and are covered by a soft exoskeleton. Brachiopoda includes 335 species. Brachiopods or lamb shells may be easily mistaken for clams or other mollusks. I also thought that brachiopods are mollusks, but they're not, because most brachiopods have a unique stalk that anchors them to their substrate, as well as a crown of cilia called a lophophore. Next, we have Acanthocephala that includes 1,100 species, and Cyclophora that only includes one species. On the left, you can see an acanthocephalan. Acanthocephalans are called spiny-headed worms because of the curved hooks on their proboscis at the anterior end of their body. All species in this phylum are parasites. On the right, you can see a cyclophoran. The only known cyclophoran species, Symbion pandora, was discovered in 1995 on the mouthparts of a lobster. This tiny face-shaped creature has a unique body plan and a particularly bizarre life cycle. Here we have Nemertia and Annelida. Nemertia includes 900 species. As you can see on the left picture, those are ribbon worms. Nemertians, also called proboscis worms or ribbon worms. They swim through water or burrow themselves in sand, extending a unique proboscis to capture prey. Like flatworms, they lack a true xylem. Annelida includes 16,500 species. As you can see on the right picture, that's a marine annelid. Annelids or segmented worms are distinguished from other worms by their body segmentation. Earthworms are the most familiar annelids, but the phylum consists primarily of marine and freshwater species. That's all from me. The next slides will be presented by my colleague Laila Sari.
I want to tell you about mollusca. Mollusca have 19,000 species. Mollusca, including snails, clams, squids, and octopus, have a subbody that in many species protected by her cells. But mollusca are not only use their cells to protect themselves, but there is also mollusca that use a camouflage to its environment like octopus. Octopus and squids also use their ink to protect themselves. I want to tell you about Ancystozoa. 1. Loricephora. Loricephora have 10 species. Loricephorans are tiny animals that inhabit the deep sea bottom. A loricephora can telescope its head, neck, and thorax in the outer of the lorica, a pocket formed by 6 plates surrounding of the abdomen. 2. Prepula. Prepula have 16 species. Prepulans are worms with a large, rounded proboscis at the anterior end, ranging from 0.5 mm to 20 cm in length. Most species burrow through seafloor sediments. Fossil evidence suggests that prepulans were among the major predators during the Cambrian period. Okay, for the next material is going to present by my colleague, Dinda.
Okay, so we will explain about Excitozoa. Before that, we must know the definition of Excitozoa. Exozoa is a group of protostome animals including arthropods, nematodes, and several smaller phyla such as Onisophora and tardigrades. The first opening of the exozoa embryo develops into the In turn, protostomia belongs to a larger group within Animalia called Bilateria, because these animals have a bilaterally symmetrical body shape. This group is also supported by morphological characteristics and is considered to include all animals that have shed their exoskeleton. Okay, the first exozoa is Onisophora. There are 110 species of Onisophora in the world. Onisophora, also called velvet worms, originates during the Cambrian explosion. Originally, they thrived in the ocean, but at some point they succeeded in colonizing land. Today, they live only in humid forests. Next, the second exozoa is tardigrades. There are 800 species tardigrades in the world. Tardigrades are sometimes called water bears for their rounded shape, stubby appendages, and lumbering bird-like gait. Most tardigrades are less than 0.5 mm in length. Some live in oceans or fresh water, while others live on plants or animals. Next, the third exozoa is nematodes. There are 25,000 species of nematodes in the world. Nematodes, also called roundworms. Nematodes are enormously abundant and diverse in the soil and in aquatic habitats. Many species parasitize plants and animals. Next, the first exozoa is arthropods. There are 1 million species of arthropods in the world. The vast majority of non-animal species, including insects, crustaceans, and arachnids, are arthropods. All arthropods have a segmented exoskeleton and joint appendages. Okay, next we will explain about Tetrostomia. Before that, we must know the definition of Tetrostomia. Tetrostomia is a superphylum of animals. They are subtaxon of the Bilateria subregnum Eumatozoa and the opposite of Protostomia. Tetrostomia differ because of their embryonic development. In tetrostomes, the first opening of the blastosphere becomes the anus, whereas in protostome it becomes the mouth. Okay, the first tetrostomia is hemichordates. There are 85 species of hemichordates in the world. Like echinoderms and chordates, hemichordates are members of the tetrostome clade. Hemichordates share some traits with chordates, such as gill slits and a dorsal nerve cord. Next, the second tetrostomia is chordates. There are 52,000 species of chordates in the world. More than 20% of all known chordate species have backbones, and thus are vertebrates. However, the phylum Chordates also include three groups of invertebrates: lanceolate, tunicates, and hagfises. Okay, so that's all I can explain about exozoa and Tetrostomia. The continuation of the Tetrostomia material will be continued by my friend Farah.
Thank you, Gristia Dinda, for your explanation. And now, I'm Farah Nirvana, will explain about the last phylum of Deuterostomia, which is Echinodermata. Right now, Echinodermata have 7,000 species. Echinoderms, such as sand dollars, sea stars, and sea urchins, are marine animals in the Deuterostome clade that are bilaterally symmetrical as larvae, but not as adults. They move and feed by using a network of internal canals to pump water to different parts of their body. Tons of echinoderms were harvested, mainly for consumption, but also for traditional medicine. These were mainly sea cucumbers and sea urchins. Sea cucumbers are considered a delicacy in some countries of Southeast Asia. Sea urchins are used in research, particularly as model organisms in development biology and ecotoxicology. And that brings us to the end. I'd like to thank you for your time and attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.